Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 8:25 a.m. East Coast time, August 19th, 2025. I have been suspended from Twitter. It's got to be a record time for someone in less than a month. I think about 3 weeks I gotten out of it. But they don't want you to talk about the technology. You can talk about chemtrails all day long, but if you start talking about the technology that's being used in this storm here that's live over Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, powerful cell phone pinging. Also going on at the same time in Kansas and Oklahoma, some incredible technologies. But let's pause it on some of this, especially all these gigantic cell phone towers we're seeing that's way higher, bigger than anything we've ever seen before. I have been removed from Twitter. I'm going to put on Dr. Robert Malone. He's going to explain exactly what these platforms are built for and who built them. We are in trouble, my friends, in so many ways. And the only reason we're allowed to talk so they know who to come get. I guarantee the only reason we're allowed to speak at all on these platforms is they know who to go get. And if you speak with too much truth, they just completely remove you, put you on the chalkboard. Incredible technologies creating storms like I have never seen. I no longer recognize the storm systems any longer. But these cell phone towers is what's killing me. Georgia, you can get on a high mountain and just see these towers just go off for distances. Florida, you get on a high spot and you see these towers go off for distances, this gigantic towers. And it's not birds, it's not bugs like they stated. That guy needs to be arrested. I seen a weatherman said it was birds. They can't show you live radar anymore because it's so insane. It has to be this garbage CGI radar. They don't want me to talk about the live satellite systems that's going around our planet right now. They want you to be so dumb in what's going on. But these are not cell phone towers for us. They're 5G HARP towers. The truth is not allowed on any of these platforms. And please stay tuned for Dr. Robert Malone talking about what these platforms are created for and who created them. It is insane what we are seeing. I wanted to show Oklahoma, but what's going off here is just truly amazing. Energizing the atmosphere. They were doing it in the 1930s with freaking weather balloons. Radar wasn't designed for seeing the rain. It just happens to be something it does. You know what I mean? It can see planes. It can energize its microwave energy, and you can even see everything that's in it. World War II, they realized they could control the weather with these technologies. You know, I mean, this is not new. It's fully been developed now, as U.S. Air Force stated. Okay, it's taking forever to load, but you're going to see. I zoomed in on Indiana here, but you can see all the cell phone towers pinging here, right here. I mean, if these people, they literally kill you to keep this information from the public. You know what I mean? Imagine the people realize all these towers that are gigantic are HARP systems and not cell phone towers. And they can ionize our atmosphere. That's all HARP is. It's the atmospheric heaters. Wonder why it's been 92 degrees every day this year in Florida since spring, since they turned the cold off. And then I don't mean they turned it off, but they allowed the cold weather come down. I've seen it 80 degrees in January when it was freezing in February. They can do incredible things with these technologies. I no longer recognize our season because of what they can do. These towers are here for a reason, and it's not for cell phones. You see what I mean? They're all going off at the same time. atmospheric heaters, HARP. They've been playing with HARP in Alaska, Peru. There's gigantic HARP heaters, atmospheric heaters. Oh, we're in trouble, my friends. So much trouble. The censorship of the people is communism. Suspended in less than a month. I don't know what I got on it about 25 days ago. My last post. Let's play this video. I'll have to go. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you can play it. And they don't like the Air Force one either. Media cannot be played. I didn't make the video. The U.S. Air Force did. They released it in the 1950s. Rewriting history, deleting the internet. You know, the largest book burning on the planet in history has happened. It's the internet. There are a lot of this stuff I can no longer find. Thank God I recorded it. People has no clue what's about to happen. The United Nations has armed their troops with Chinese troops. United Nations has armed their army with Chinese troops. These people don't care about your house. They do what they're told. They look like they're scared. They got to do what they're told. I've always been brutally honest. All I do is study. My dad says it's hard to argue with you, son. I said, all I do is study. Find something that discredits me. 4 days later, he apologized because I was right. Everybody wants to be right. All I want to do is find the truth. I don't want to be right. I hate all of this. You talking about if somebody tries to come out, they're talking about killing somebody. Maybe this video got me suspended, but one video get you suspended. And this here is very accurate. Nobody's paying attention. We're going to have floods of chemicals or armies. I don't know what the flood's going to be this time, but nobody's paying attention. Moving on. It is beyond any of these platforms are able to help us. We need to get on the ground and start talking to people and not be scared to talk to people. That's what the pandemic was about. Social engineering. No one speaks to each other. I got one of the most unique boats in the world. People used to line up at gas stations to talk to me and see what it was about. They don't even come near me anymore. We have wave after wave now. They've already destroyed the center part of the United States, and now it's the coastline turns, or at least put the fear in them. They're evacuating Outer Banks where I commercial fished for years, about 4 or 5 years. Moving on. This is Dr. Robert Malone. I want to play a little bit of this. I don't know how much they'll let it out. It's about COVID, but how they control us. And I want you to listen to this. Please stay tuned to what this man has to say. He's a really good man and very, very smart. Very important, and I got 2 parts I want to play of his. Very important what he's got to say, and you must listen to what he's saying. This is not our platforms. We're on their platforms. Stand by.
Regarding COVID crisis, medical freedom, and freedom in general, the government's willingness to deploy modern cognitive and psychological warfare tools. By the way, those are 2 different things. Cognitive warfare tools go into your subconsciousness. Psychological warfare tools approach your conscious mind. Governments willing to deploy modern cognitive and psychological warfare tools and technologies against their own citizenry in combination with collusion and coercion, using the power of modern big information technology is an evil the world has never known before. We give rights to our government. You guys, this is for you. We give rights to our government in exchange for our government's commitment to providing security, furthering prosperity, and respecting people's autonomy, sovereignty, and will. Over the last 4 years, many have come to learn that there's a suite of technologies and capabilities that have been developed over decades, which can influence everything that we think, feel, hear, and believe. That's what I'm talking about. Your mind is not your own. These technologies have been developed and deployed for offshore use, as I mentioned, specifically to advance American interests through the US State Department, the intelligence community, CIA, and Department of Defense. I mentioned about Five Eyes. This has also been bundled with the initiative that the United States has felt consequent to World War II and the collapse of the imperialist government organizations throughout Europe, that we're the good guys. The United States, the good guys. We have this Constitution. We believe in the rule of law. We have a moral fabric. And if we didn't step into the power vacuum left after World War II, then the USSR would, China would, etc. We must act as an imperialist power to fill that power void and use every skill and capability that we can to do so. That has led us into the modern position. Do you know that there's been over 70 regime changes managed by the CIA since the end of World War II? We believe that this is okay. Not only that, we believe that assassination is okay as a way to manage these political structures. And I assert that what we've done is we've normalized these methods, including assassination, to the point where we had an American president that was perceived as a risk to American foreign policy, and he was assassinated. There was a coup against JFK. We've been living with that ever since. And the technology has just gotten more and more and more powerful. Now, I'm running out of time. I'm going to just kind of try to help you to comprehend the world that you are living in now and you're going to live in the rest of your lives. Twitter was developed as a weapon. Facebook was developed as a weapon. They were developed as weapons by the CIA. Google is powered by the CIA. Google was created at Stanford using CIA funding. CIA transferred the technology for Google Maps. That's where it comes from. Okay? So what am I talking about? Here's an example. The example that demonstrates how powerful this tech is what transpired with Arab Spring. Arab Spring was the first clear, unequivocal fifth-generation warfare battle that was won. Repeated regime change, starting with Tunisia. The thing is that with these social media platforms, the tech exists. I know this because I used to support a client that built some of this tech called Behavioral Matrix. With the words that you post on social media or any media platform, they can extract your emotional state. It's all validated using statistics. The words that you use can be used to basically peer into your mind, to extract your emotional state and then map it in a cloud of influence with the other people that you're interacting with on social media. And that cloud, statistically validated cloud of interactions, can be used to pull out those within that sphere that are expressing emotions and thoughts that those that are managing it wish to elevate or suppress. You ever heard of shadow banning? Shadow banning is just part of the toolkit. Okay? Those influencers can be manipulated so that they are more widely circulated and influencing that cloud, or less so. It can be manipulated so that you can pick out voices that are saying, we need to go attack the palace, or we need to all meet here, or whatever the thing is, and then propagated through that entire matrix. You asked for examples, okay? This is how this tech was built as a weapon. It can move populations and did so, clearly documented during Arab Spring to result in multiple examples of regime change. Extremely powerful. Grease lightning. What's not to like if you're the CIA? And we didn't have to go shoot missiles. We didn't have to shoot guns. But this tech, remember, if you're interacting on your little social media platform that you call your cell phone, and there's 2, or even better, 3 cell towers within range, you can be precisely triangulated in 3-dimensional space. You can be kinetically targeted with extreme precision, and that database all gets linked to Gorgon Stare. These are the high-resolution satellite imagery technology that exists. So who you are, what you look like, what your vehicle is, who you're associated with, what you're saying on social media, all that stuff is captured and tracked and weaponized. All great, you know, if this is your business. And then along comes UKIP, Nigel Farage, and Brexit. Okay? And oops, it got turned on its head. Cambridge Analytica and the Trump election, oops, got turned on its head. And suddenly, the intelligence community realized they had a problem. And that was embodied in, for instance, in one example, in the Obama lectures that were given at the Hoover Institute, in which he justified the need for censorship and propaganda. Okay? They believe that because of these capabilities and the risks, because underneath the risk of Brexit, the realization of Brexit was Frexit and Grexit and the destruction of the European Union that we've so carefully created. And if the EU falls, NATO falls, and American foreign policy is destroyed. And that's why they feel that it's absolutely necessary and justified to do this. But the problem is, as I said, is the slippery slope. Once they're doing it for that reason, then they're doing it for this reason, then they're doing it because of vaccine hesitancy and anti-vaxxers, then they're doing it for climate change deniers, then they're doing it for people that are in the opposite political party. Dr. Malone, a conservative. Okay? Now, I've run out of time. So much more I can cover. The book is, I think, 130,000 words. Extensive documentation of the technology and the means and the logic and what this is being used to drive the interface with the World Health Organization, with the United Nations. If you haven't heard what Agenda 2030 is, you better figure it out. It's considered an international treaty, by the way. Among other things in Agenda 2030 is the assertion is that it's a fundamental human right to migrate and live wherever in the world you want. Okay? A lot of these things that you encounter, open borders, it just doesn't make sense, right? No, it's codified specifically in Agenda 2030. This is the new world order that you have to deal with. I'm going to be dead. Okay? All I can do is what I'm trying to do right now is to help teach, reach you, and this is a powerful group. What Mises has assembled here, I'm really impressed with. I'm impressed with seeing all of you having these deep intellectual conversations over burgers.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there. I'm actually impressed that he had anybody that wanted to hear him too. They got everybody so hypnotized, my friends. Thank you, Robert Malone. One more thing I wanted to share about him. In a few minutes, I'll do it for the people, but I want to go over the hurricane. In a few minutes, I'm going to let him talk about how many different types of disinformation, mild different information, or whatever. how they classify what we're talking about. But here's the video. It's 2 minutes and 26 seconds that I think YouTube does not like. Twitter does not like me talking about the hurricane maker. They removed me last year, right in the middle of during Hurricane Milton's creation. Everybody on Twitter is just in a box. Whether all their viewers are real or not, who knows? But we need to get out on our feet and start talking to the population somehow, some way. But check this out. I really think there's a lot of ship activity involved in this. There was a video that came out of Philippines or Thailand or something. It was incredible how many ships. It looked like it was pumping out smoke. Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 7:28 a.m. East Coast time, August 18th, 2025. I just want to go over yesterday, almost 24 hours ago. Some very suspicious activity here in the storm. See some trailing. Looks kind of like chemtrails. But what I'm more interested in, what looks like ship activity. Let me get it display here for you. Okay, the first one that releases is right here that I really paying attention to. See it starting to release. All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 releasing at one time. And there's a video I have from the Philippines that looked like hundreds of ships doing this. See the little circles from whatever activity they're doing? It's actually pushing away the clouds. Very suspicious to me. And I've seen this in a lot of the other hurricanes too. It's just weird how it burns off as the sun is setting here. Just going to do a short little video, something I seen very suspicious in this. See how there's 3 more igniting here? Like right here, it looks like individual ships. And I have some photos of ships, and they can run up to 20 knots I've seen on a ship tracker. I don't know, it's just very unusual, my friends, and the whole system looks unusual. You see how it's got air in it? It looks like it was dry air introduced here somehow. It's just not a natural system, but I've never seen the eye have a tail. It looks kind of funny. It's being all introduced. It's very weird how this explodes. Let's take a look at what the ships, I believe, is doing, taking part in these activities. See, it did it again. I'm sorry I stopped my own video, but sometimes I'll watch my videos and I'm like, holy cow, I wish I'd have noticed that. Taking part in, but it looks like it did it again. It sucked in these activities, air. Hundreds of them most likely. Maybe that's how. That's a turn one of you off. All right, turn the video off so I can talk. But it looked like it was just adding dry air to it or something. It was really weird. It did it twice there. That's how they get air into the eye, maybe? I don't know. Watch, you'll see it kind of do it again there. See it? So unusual for a hurricane. I've never seen anything like it. But here's the trails, the ships. With the ship's engine. This is a 2-pot burner. Very blurry picture because I'm zoomed in on it, but here's a 2-pot burner with only one of the pots burning. And obviously Greenpeace knows about these activities. This is the Bering Sea. I have many, many more videos on these activities. Yeah, it's crazy, man. April 1st. You know, that should be New Year's Day is April 1st. That's probably why we have April Fool's Day. My buddy Joe brought that up, and it makes perfect sense. Because the end of spring, the end of winter to spring is March 20th or something. Wouldn't that be the new year at the beginning of spring instead of in the middle of winter? It's kind of odd. But these are super tankers in the Bering Sea releasing smoke that's not natural. Dozens of them. I have a video on that. Okay, my friends, just to get some information out to a couple of you or whoever's left at 25 minutes, I do appreciate y'all. To say the least, we're in deep trouble. Nobody's paying attention, but this is how they put us in a box, or that, how they put us in terminologies of different disinformation groups, I guess. Pretty interesting.
Um, uh, and in the face of the risk of someone sharing information, which may be true, which would cause someone to become vaccine hesitant, that was sufficient to justify virtually anything short of assassination, to cause that person to no longer be able to share that information. That's the underpinning logic that we saw in the COVID crisis, and that's now been broadened to questioning climate change, questioning whether or not not to get too political, whether or not Kamala Harris was border czar. I mean, we've now kind of normalized this process to control information that's inconsistent with what the state wants to be the approved narrative. And they have a language around it. It's mis, dis, and malinformation. I'm accused of spreading misinformation. So what is misinformation, this great sin that I and others are accused of? Misinformation is information which you share, which differs from the approved narrative as promoted by, in this case, because we're talking about public health, NIH, CDC, or the World Health Organization. If I say something that's different from what the approved narrative is coming from WHO, CDC, or NIH, which have been repeatedly proven to be false, I am guilty of spreading misinformation. Now, what's disinformation, if that's misinformation? Disinformation is if I'm doing it for political purposes. Let's imagine, and I have not endorsed Bobby Kennedy, but let's imagine that I've endorsed Bobby Kennedy and I'm spreading his messaging regarding vaccines and vaccine safety because I want to help get him elected. Okay, that would be disinformation because it would be different from the approved narrative, but it would be being spread for political purposes. Now here's the kicker. What is malinformation? As defined by the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Mayorkas. And by the way, all three of these are defined in a DHS memorandum as being domestic terrorism. When you say that Robert Malone or you are spreading misinformation, that is now equated to saying that you are a domestic terrorist. Malinformation is information which may be true, but causes the receiver, the recipient of that malinformation, to become more distrustful of the government. Okay, I guarantee that you all have heard a bucket load of malinformation over the last couple of days. Okay, you've been subjected to, by Secretary Mayorkas' definition, a fire hose of terrorism, of domestic terrorism. Okay, that's how insidious this is. Now I'm going to introduce another thing. The concept of the banality of evil. As I've tried to think about all this and talking to other people, people again and again and again talk about what has been happening has been evil. For some of us, we don't have language. I could never imagine that I would be talking about things like good and evil as a scientist. It's just kind of foreign. It's not part of my language. And yet over the last 4 years, it's become commonplace. I don't have any other language than the language of faith to express a lot of the phenomena that I'm observing, and evil is one of them. And I started using this term evil to describe what I was seeing in these processes that are occurring by our government, by corporations, by mass media, etc. I truly believe that the deployment of psychological warfare against civilian populations is fundamentally evil. That for me, is really problematic when I start ascribing evil intent to third persons, because I don't really know what's in their heart. I don't really know what they're thinking. And in trying to process my own model for what's transpired, I found that the book, the concepts of Hannah Arendt in her 1963 book, Eichmann in Jerusalem, A Report on the Banality of Evil, to be really helpful. Okay? The concept of the banality of evil is often misunderstood as suggesting that evil is ordinary or common. Not true. Hannah Arendt's intention was to highlight the fact that evil is not necessarily driven by a desire for destruction or chaos, but rather by a lack of thought and consideration for the consequences of one's actions. The banality of evil often arises from bureaucracies. They have their own intrinsic logic and structure. People that exist within those bureaucracies, and including Eichmann, one of the key organizers of the Holocaust, essentially takes the position, as do the people that were driving the trains and so many other activities that contributed to the Holocaust during World War II. They were just doing their job. They were just following orders. They were just fitting in. The banality of evil refers to the fact that evil can be committed by ordinary, unremarkable people, including bureaucrats, who are not driven by a desire for evil. They're not Mr. Evil scheming, but rather by a lack of moral imagination, a failure to think critically about the consequences of their actions. Banality of evil arises from individuals that are just going along to get along. They're not thinking about the consequences of what they're doing. They're not thinking about the bigger picture. A lot of this stuff all originates in a failure of people to think and take ownership and responsibility for their actions, which, of course, trying to bring it back, is at the core of libertarian thought, that you take responsibility for your actions. And based on this, I came up with a model. It's a Venn diagram. Sorry, I don't have it as a slide. What has really occurred over the last 4 years? What is occurring now? I think we have the interaction of three major forces. One is just gross incompetence. One is nefarious scheming. There absolutely have been people that have taken advantage of the COVID crisis for economic and other benefits, political benefits. Nefarious scheming can't be denied. The other is the complexity of the systems that we've developed, complex systems. And at this intersection of incompetence, nefarious scheming, and complex systems, we have a number of other phenomena that emerge. At the interface between incompetence and complex systems, we have arbitrary bureaucracy. At the interface of incompetence and nefarious scheming, we have unanticipated consequences. At the interface of nefarious scheming and complex systems, we have corruption. And right in the center of all of these forces, we have the banality of evil. That is my model for what's gone on. It's not just Klaus Schwab is the evil puppet master, that kind of narrative that we've heard promoted again and again. A lot of this has to do with the complex systems in which we are living right now. And this is a diversion, but I want to touch on it. And we saw it emerge really graphically with the CrowdStrike event. One of the problems, we in an earlier lecture, we heard somebody just touching gently, not even using the terms, on DEI, on the substitution of these social agendas for a commitment that was normative previously for excellence. That we have culturally increasingly come to value these social agenda issues like diversity, equity, inclusion, instead of other core issues that in my age were the center of everything, if in seeking an education, building a career, seeking advancement, etc. which was merit, education, and intelligence. The problem with substituting DEI kind of concepts, which is a core of the New World Order, of this Great Reset, of stakeholder capitalism, okay, that corporations should not be so focused on profit, they should be focused on the social good that they generate, okay? It's fundamentally repugnant to the logic of Rothbard and Mises and the whole libertarian concept, as far as I'm concerned. But the underlying that is that if we choose to build our society and our systems around these social agendas, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, what we will do is gradually degrade the capability of the complex systems which we rely on to function. And this kind of cascading failure that we've seen with the COVID crisis in so many ways, the corruption, the misrepresentation, the failure to think, the rampant failure of the medical system, it's just undeniable. That kind of complex system failure will become more and more and more common, because we've built a edifice in the Western world of interacting highly complex systems that require deep technical expertise in order to maintain. We're talking about air traffic control, computational systems like CrowdStrike. And that was for those of you that aren't coders and wonks, that was a simple coding error in a pointer in C++. It took out the biggest system-wide computer failure in the history of the world, because somebody didn't do their job right in coding and somebody else didn't do their job right in terms of quality control. And the whole system all over the world failed. Okay? We're going to see more and more and more of that if we fail to focus on merit, education, and intelligence, and instead substitute these various social agendas in maintaining our infrastructure, our human capital. Enough on that.
Incredible work from Robert Malone, Dr. Robert Malone. I will leave a link in the comment section on YouTube. Anybody on Rumble, you can communicate with me much easier on YouTube. The Starlink map has also been upgraded. It is quite amazing now. It's satellite map. It shows all of them, but this is Starlink. Our ocean currents would not be here if we were on a stagnant planet. We have 24 time zones showing that the sun is setting and rising at all times. That's actually the real sunlight right now. Incredible technologies they don't want anybody to know about, but I'm watching rockets go up on almost a weekly basis. While we were shrimping, I've been off for a month because of the heat. There's small shrimp. There's commercial shut down right now, live commercial. But these are the satellites that would be above us if it was just sun setting, you could see, but it's way more than that. That's just the internet. I like when I put it all on. They have to know where all this stuff is because they would be running into each other. I've actually witnessed two satellites running side by side at night. You can see it looks like stars, and one diverted away from the other one. I don't know why it zooms in so slow. But it's really neat. You can click on and see their orbits. And they'll be a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Starlink's right around 350 kilometers to 550. Thank you, warriors. Pretty incredible technology they've surrounded us with. Here you can go to all different kind, like positioning is your GPS. It wouldn't work on a flat planet. That's just your GPS. The red one's around the equator. I watched some incredible satellites at first sunset. The sun glares on them. Only lasts about an hour or so. I got to witness one of the satellite trains. That was really cool. Communication satellites. A lot of different, way different. That was weird. I don't know why that popped up. Wow, I thought there'd be a lot more communication satellites. Global position. What I like was the constellations. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wait a minute. I have no idea. Starlink. There's Starlink. Web one's the government's. Oh, this is the government's internet. From my understanding, it's like 1,000 times faster than our internet. GPS. But it doesn't take as many GPS satellites as you think. Long as you got three triangling you at any time, they can tell where you are, or you can tell where you are. This should get rid of the space junk, which it showed over here, debris. Come on. Anyhow, my friends, I was just showing you what was cool. That is amazing what our planet looks like. And it doesn't glow. That's just showing them, obviously. It's just satellites. Incredible satellite systems. Just go out there after sunset. The curvature of the earth will give you light in the out in the sky, but it'd be dark where you are, and you can see this. The sun will be still shining on it, but it only lasts about an hour after sunset. The easiest point of seeing these devices. But go out there in a dark area and just look for stars moving. They don't look like any more than stars, but they're moving. Let me show you a video. Thank you, Warriors, at 43 minutes. This has been speeded up. It's every second's 30 seconds. But while I'm shrimping my first drag, I can just look up and see incredible movement of the satellite systems I've never witnessed before. It's so many. That is just satellites. That's all it is. And I got to see the train one right after the sunset one night of a satellites, the Starlink so-called train, about 40 satellites or whatever. I was trying to get towed in, and they were trying to hook me up to the other boat. Didn't get to watch it as clearly as I would like to have. But when I see these rockets go up, it's just evil to me. Truly is evil. I can no longer see the night sky like I used to. It's so many lights here in Florida, but it's also the atmosphere is filled with chemicals. Let's zoom in, but that's satellites that's messing up his deep view photograph. There's no way all of this is evolving around us. We're just spinning. That's the Milky Way. It's amazing. It's the galaxy that we live in, and people haven't never even seen it. In Los Angeles, they had a blackout, and they were 911 calls coming in reporting lights in the sky. They've never even seen stars before. And that's the people that don't understand the planet. I understand. They've never seen it. But I've laid on my back on the ice box for hours waiting on the tide to get low enough, watching the moon go down, waiting on it to set. Because it's low tide here on my coast when the moon sets. And when it goes beyond the horizon, the tide comes back. People argue with me about the planet that knows nothing, and that breaks my heart. I've seen such beauty, and they're destroying it. I wonder if our rulers has ever seen this, or they've never been away from the lights or the dark rooms they hide in. You know why bars are dark, right? You can't sin in the light. So beautiful out there. People are missing it. We need to watch sunrises and sunsets every day. You'd be so healthy, getting the energy of the sun. Very beautiful. Moving on. As I am witnessing our lands burn, flood, threats of floods, do what we say. I've seen a new state. I think Louisiana was trying to outlaw chemtrails now. Does no good to outlaw these people. We're in trouble, my friends, and no one's paying attention. New disturbance, there's nothing out there. 60%. I mean, it's just nightmares knowing this information and that they're blocking it from the public. Fires everywhere, just burning down wherever they want. Come on, clear up. That looks funny to me. Would it just be a spin out in the middle of a sea? Looks awful like the hurricane maker thing, majigger. Everything's so glitchy. I'm gonna let you go, my friends, as I play it forward, and you can see one of their machines working out here in this Caspian Sea. Commercial Fisherman standing by. We are in complete control of lunatics. We're under control. God, the lunatics is taking over. They run the insane asylum now. Burn it down, flood it, wipe them out. Whole world's going crazy. Standing by. Commercial Fisherman out.